Hello, viewers, and welcome to the latest episode of the Huddle. I'm here with Ashley Lang, CEO of Pragmatic Solutions. Ashley, thanks for joining us.
Tim, pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure as well. Looking forward to talking through a number of topics with you, and Gibraltar looks just beautiful in the background.
Doesn't it? We get, most days are sunny here, so that's not hard to make it look good in the background of a call. But this is our HQ for us is Gibraltar, and glad to be talking to you from here.
Mm-hmm. The timing of this interview is quite nice because we've sort of just hit 4 years for you as CEO of Pragmatic Solutions.
Who's counting?
A broad opener. How do you reflect on that time?
Look, it's been really exciting. I joined Pragmatic, as you say, 4 years ago, Pragmatic Solutions 4 years ago, to lead the technology side of the business, which is what we do at Pragmatic Solutions, platform technology, CMS technology. At the time, we were, let's say, a small, profitable technology business, sister company of Pragmatic Play, the wildly successful content provider in the industry. The technology side of the business wasn't as well known to the market that Pragmatic had as strong a product in the technology side. We were serving a small group of loyal customers, and part of my challenge was to lift the veil on what we're doing and better communicate to the market what we can bring to the table, and also sort of strengthen the team and the product proposition we have and the way in which we could service our customers by building out the team to be stronger and ready to support the kind of business that we are worthy of going after because of what we have under the hood in terms of technology. Over the 4 years, we've driven consistent triple-digit growth year on year. We've onboarded some high-profile brands like DAZN with DAZN Bet as a customer. Recently, we've onboarded Estrella Bet, one of the market leaders, a really exciting company in the Brazil market. So we're winning business. We've had growth inside the business, and now really the stage is set for Pragmatic Solutions to compete for tier one and growth operators that are looking to migrate and change technology. And my role now is to take everything that we've built over the last 4 years and explain the story, explain why this is relevant in the market, how this fits in with what the challenges are that operators are facing today. And recently, we've published a white paper that's available for download on our website. Maybe your team has also had a look at it, which is a thought-provoking piece intended to support leadership teams in navigating the challenges with looking at their platform strategy and considering if it's the right fit for the future ambitions of their business and how to navigate the potential transition from what they're using today to a solution like ours and why we believe our approach makes sense in the market. So it's been a really exciting journey over the last 4 years. I've never been more excited about it than I am now. We've got a great platform to build upon, and I mean that both literally and figuratively speaking, as a business platform to build upon. And I'm grateful to guys like you that we could talk to and help us get the message out.
Well, appreciate the kind words at the end, but it sounded like quite an intro when you came in, but it sounds like you've kept a certain check on milestones and progress, and as you say now, looking to get that message out. Links to a couple of follow-up questions I'm going to ask. You mentioned
Sure.
a few things that you're looking to do. What has been within the company the single, would you say, biggest change that has happened in that 4 years, kind of under your leadership?
Single biggest change. Okay, well, we've grown quite a lot. I mean, we by better communicating what we do and better, let's say, packaging what we were already doing for a group of loyal customers when I joined, we've packaged that and communicated to more of the industry, and we're winning business. So, of course, there's been growth inside the company, and that presents some challenges in terms of scaling and doing so in a way that is respectful of the customers that are already on board with our technology and rely on us day to day to support their business and their growth, but also, creating an avenue and onboarding program for new customers, new licensees to migrate their business onto our platform. And it's been a challenge to achieve that in the way that we have. I think it's also about maturing the way that we think about and present technology to the market. The way that we've had to understand the market's demands, what they're looking for from a technology platform, and what are the constraints and technical limitations that are bottlenecks for their business today, and how can we offer what we do in a way that is leveraging what an operator needs is proven, reliable core technology for the operation of their business, but they also want the flexibility to differentiate from competitors, to integrate and connect best of breed new products that come to market, and increasingly to be able to navigate their way into regulated markets or expand their competition capabilities in a regulated market. So ensuring compliant operation of their business while still within the boundaries governed by the regulation, that jurisdiction, maximizing their commercial opportunity. And that's a challenge to navigate, to do that technically, to support that with both on-platform functionality, third-party integrations, and a constant dialogue with the operators using our platform to understand how they're using it and what their business objectives are and how we can help them deliver that. I think the regulation, that point that I kind of hinted to there, has been a key challenge over the last decade for sure, but it's sort of ramping up in recent years. And we've had clients that have gone live in the UK and Spain and Germany, which are markets that were, let's say the first two that I mentioned, UK and Spain, were not new in terms of regulatory models, but are certainly challenging markets to operate in. Germany, with an evolving regulatory requirements on the operators that are both serviced operationally and by platform. And then new frontiers. We're seeing today, the Brazil market now introducing regulation. We have operators doing good business there that need to navigate their business from the unregulated world into the locally regulated world. The same we've had in Ontario. And how we prepare for announcements of new territories like the opening of the Finnish market. So that's both an operational challenge to ensure that we provide solutions that support the business operations, but it's also a technical challenge, integrations with national self-exclusion databases, regulatory vaults, and regulatory reporting systems. It's a complex landscape, Tim. There's no shortage of challenges, and it's also important to understand that this is not a static product. When we're providing core technology for an operator's business, it's not just about a snapshot of what we have to offer today. The true value in what we bring, or what must be evaluated on any platform solution an operator chooses, is how agile and capable that supplier is to keep up with the market trends and the market demands, whether those are regulatory or commercial or product driven or competitor led. If someone makes a move in a market that suddenly is gaining market share, if you're in that market, you have to respond, and you need to have a technological partner that can move with you at pace. And so it's definitely not a static environment. And one of the challenges we always face day to day is servicing our customers so we're an enabler rather than a bottleneck to their business. Technology should be enabling your business objectives, not slowing them down. And we're sharpening the saw in the way that we operate every day to make that what we bring to the table.
Yeah, I was going to follow up with a same question, but industry wide, in terms of what's been the single biggest change. But you've kind of touched on it there, and I'd imagine that will be to do with something technological, as you say. It's iGaming is a dynamic and agile space, but probably regulation as well.
Well, regulation leads to technical challenges, right? So they're both eligibility. Permission to operate in markets, I think, is a challenge for operators to obtain licenses and to evaluate the commercial viability of some of these regulated markets and figure out what the impact is on their business, where they might have new commercial limitations or implications on their business, taxation, deposit limits, and things like this that mean they need to readjust their commercial models and marketing strategies and operational strategies. But no doubt, whatever they arrive at will have a technical dependency that needs to be supported by the platform. And where new regulation and taxation impact the margins, they're looking to optimize operational processes. And we're looking at ways that we can help our customers keep their cost base down and do more with technology and alleviate internal costs that are operational or manual processes that might slow a business down. So I think if your question is what's the wider challenge in the industry, I think regulation and how technology supports that would certainly be one. I think also there is the environment in which operators today will build their brands and establish their relationships with their customers, communicate with customers, and build brand loyalty or build market share. They're not the same. It's not the same environment that some of today's leading brands were operating in when they built those brands. So if you're an operator that is trying to compete with one of the biggest, global brands that was established in the last 20 years, you're not going to gain market share and gain brand awareness in the same ways that they did, because a lot of those big brands today were established at a time when there was much less regulation involved in the industry, and the capabilities to do a lot more different marketing channels, different types of communication were available to them, and less friction existed in servicing customers from all over the world. So I think one of the challenges a lot of operators face today is, well, how am I going to punch through? What's my strategy to gain market share and displace one of the current incumbent leading providers? What's my strategy to make a place for our brand in the market, particularly if they're a challenger brand in a market? And again, it always is going to come down to some technological element to that strategy. But one thing we're trying to encourage in operators that are thinking about how technology relates to business strategy is to think about the business strategy and the business objectives first. Establish your 1 year, 2 year, 5 year business objectives, whether those are commercial objectives, market expansion objectives, new brand launches, new product verticals that are being added. Decide on those and the strategic value they have to achieving your shareholders' goals, the value creation in the business, and then map your technology solutions weighed against the capabilities of the partners or the strategy that you choose to deliver against those business objectives. And in doing so, we're provoking the thought to happen in that order, because technology should service the business objective rather than technology being the business objective. I've been on the B2C side of the business earlier in my career, and I've never sat in a board meeting where the shareholders or representatives of the shareholders wanted to discuss the advances we've made in technology. What they wanted to discuss was, what are the advances we've made commercially in the business or in achieving strategic goals for the business. And technology underpins that, but it's secondary to the business objective. So, yeah.
No, that makes total sense. Definite emphasis on planning there, and I think it links quite nicely to this next question, because in a written interview you did in the Gambling Insider July-August edition of the magazine, which will be out soon. Our readers can have a look at it. You said platform selection is arguably the most important product and technical decision a leadership team can make. And my question is why, but I think it'll link quite heavily to what we were just talking about.
Yeah, why is platform selection so mission critical for a business?
Yeah.
Well, okay, first off, I think it's important to understand that in an operator's business, they have a variety of vendors for other services. You'll have content from everybody in the industry, and you'll certainly choose content from vendors that lead in the markets in which you're operating or choosing to expand into. You might have a variety of options available to you for parts of your KYC and onboarding process. You might be able to send customers to different suppliers for ID verification or check them against multiple external databases. When it comes to payments, putting money in and out of the system, you're going to have the potential to connect a variety of payment providers and even orchestrate the connection of the customer in their journey to the right payment provider based upon the location of the customer or what they might prefer to pay with. But when it comes to platform, it's a monogamous relationship. You have one platform that underpins the operation of the business. So it's a much more critical decision, because if the platform strategy that you have as a business, and I say platform strategy first before I say platform vendor, because one part of that strategy might be operators considering whether they should build it themselves versus licensing from someone else. And I think that's a subject we could do a little bit of a sidebar on, but I don't want to lose my train of thought in that in choosing the platform strategy, it's going to be a single vendor or a single solution that forms the foundational building block of your technical estate that supports the entire business. And from the platform, you'll integrate a multitude of vendors, which you'll have the flexibility to swap in and swap out based upon who's the best fit for your business at any given time. But the platform is core, and it's a much more, like I say, it's akin to a strategic alliance or a marriage relationship with that technology vendor or technology solution. And it's a monogamous one because you won't be running multiple in parallel. It's also critical because technology at that level, where it's core to your business, can dictate the scope of the future expansion of your company, whether that's the capabilities of that platform to support you in the markets you wish to expand to, whether it has the integrations or the capability to integrate the vendors or suppliers that you want to connect, how performant it is at scale. Does your business start to creak a little and your customers experience latency on transactions as your business grows through the success of everything else that you're doing? The last thing you want is all your marketing and commercial strategies to start to pay off, only to find that your platform is going to limit the potential for your business and throttle your capabilities commercially and in terms of market expansion. So, I mean, I don't know how to more succinctly state it, that it is mission critical choice. And we see this too. We see this in the value that the customers that we speak with that are at that pivotal point where leadership teams are contemplating a change in platform strategy. We see who shows up at the table for the presentations that we do or the discussions we get into. It's the CEOs, it's the CTOs, it's the COO, it's the CMO, it's the head of fraud and risk, it's the head of CS. I mean, all the stakeholders in the company are reliant. This is the hub where everybody meets and everything connects through the PAM platform. So we take that really seriously. We have a lot of respect for the decision-making process. We have a lot of respect for the risk in taking these decisions and therefore the due diligence part of it that operators will take us through and that we will support. And we're kind of leaning into that in the white paper that we've published to say, we've heard this sort of discussion. We've been on one side of the table as many operators contemplate and evaluate their options for platform. We've heard some really interesting different perspectives as to how they're evaluating that. What is the process by which they will take their vendor selection through? And we've kind of thought about it and thought, well, you know what, maybe we can help put out a piece that discusses the various ways that you need to consider this and provokes some thought amongst leadership teams and kind of consolidates all those different perspectives into one information piece that's intended to help the leadership teams consider this decision-making process thoughtfully and in an organized way. So, ultimately, it's mission critical. It can de-risk the future success of the business. It can help reduce costs in markets where increasingly taxation and regulation are chipping away at margins. And it can accelerate timelines to achieving business goals, which means when those same leadership teams show up at the next board meeting, they're presenting success stories to their stakeholders that were accelerated by good technology. And therefore, I don't know how to understate the importance of this decision and the importance of choosing the right partner.
I would like to follow up in a minute on that sidebar that you presented. Always an interesting topic, in-house operator versus B2B models. But let's say a hypothetical. Let's say disaster strikes, because we've seen a few high-profile examples in the industry. But it's something that someone can face in any situation in business. Let's say an operator, for whatever reason, discovers they have chosen the wrong platform. There's technical issues. There's whatever's happened. What happens next? How easy is it to change that? Because as you say from your description, more of a long-term marriage. I suppose that underpins the importance, as you say, of getting the decision right in the first place. Because I'm not sure if it become a little bit messy transitioning technology. Let's say even it happens. You discover in the middle of the Euros, or a really busy time for your company?
Okay, well, it'd be quite unfortunate for the operator that's discovering in the middle of the Euros or some peak tournament that they're reaching the technical capabilities of their platform have been exhausted and they're starting to experience, it's impacting the customer. It's not going to be something that they can change immediately overnight because of the critical and integrated nature of a platform into all aspects of the business. But having said that, most of the customers that we onboard to Pragmatic Solutions are coming from another platform today. So, we're not dealing as much with startups as we are dealing with successful businesses that, for one reason or another, as you say, have decided it's time to migrate to another technical solution. The migration then itself, the whole process requires planning across the organization because the platform is not just carrying the player account, but it's also carrying all of your bonus and promotional campaign configurations. It's also carrying your interaction with customers, your transaction history and your CS interactions with them, and all of your customers' regulatory controls, whether they've opted in or opted out of communications, whether they've set limits, whether they have they're currently in the middle of a timeout, if you're running multiple brands, you might have to orchestrate all of that synchronized between multiple brands. So there's not just the migration of a player account from one platform to the other, but there's also the migration of the operational configurations and the other attributes of the player account that relate to the regulatory side and the marketing side that need to be migrated. It's not simple, but it's not impossible. Like I say, it's most of what we do. Most of the clients that are onboarding to us are coming from somewhere, and we do that migration. The critical challenge to it, which for us is a mature process. We've done this flawlessly with customers that have millions of customer accounts. And the migration date itself is usually, some downtime at a low peak in a period of a day. We choose a low peak time, and there'll be a system down maintenance page, then back live on the new platform. The timeline that inquires is really about the migration of the data during the downtime period. But it's at the point when the transition happens, it's a low peak period in the day, immediate transition from one platform to the next. But the only reason that works successfully is with what is ultimately months of planning prior to map the data in the way it's structured on the legacy platform to the way that we structure data on our platform, including everything, not just player transaction history, but also, as I said, regulatory configurations, bonus and promotions and marketing configurations, everything else. In our model, we do a lot of pre-planning. We do a lot of dry runs. So we take sample data and we have sample instance of the legacy platform, sample instance of our target platform, and we port data across migrate. So I don't want to oversimplify the complexity of what's involved. I also don't say it's as simple as changing game vendors from slots from vendor A versus vendor B that you're going to feature in a promotion. You can do that in real time. This is quite a serious technical transition for a business, but we're experts at it. It can be done flawlessly. We've never had an issue in a migration. It has very low impact on the customer at the point of transition, but it does require a lot of pre-planning to get it right. And I don't think management teams or leadership teams should be fearful of making the change they need to make for their business because of migration. I think the real question is, perhaps the better question is, how difficult is it to stay on a platform that is constraining the forward growth of the business? That's the big question. Don't let any tension about yesterday's evidently bad decision, govern the easier, by comparison, decision to migrate your business to a better solution. And I think, sometimes where we see the most tension, I'll come back to that sidebar question with this answer, is sometimes the biggest constraint on operators that want to make a transition is that they're heavily invested in what they've been using. Despite the fact that it's exposing some weaknesses in their technical platform today to help them achieve business goals, we often have them pondering, but we've invested so much in our in-house platform. That's where some resistance comes. And you're thinking, well, it's water under the bridge. Unfortunately, you're doubling down on an investment in something that is proving to be a limiter on your business instead of making the decision to migrate. So I think, when it comes to the challenge of migration, I think don't worry, don't lose sleep over the migration itself, and don't think it's going to be an overly complex or burdensome transition process for your operations teams or your customers. We'll do a lot of training, we'll do a lot of pre-planning. Think instead of what's the cost of staying where you are. You're at the table for some reason. This decision is driven by frustration to re-platform a business, is driven by reaching a point with which technology has all too often become the reason for which you're not achieving some business objectives. And if you're at the table for that decision, the primary question to be asking is, what's the cost of not making a change? Because the realities of making a change are very manageable, in our case, very mature process, and have very little impact on the customer.
Where would you say at the moment in the industry that balance lies between operators deciding to go in-house, or going B2B? And when I say deciding to go in-house, I'll include in that acquisitions, because obviously LeoVegas acquiring Push Gaming a few years ago, obviously DraftKings getting SB Tech, Kindred buying Relax Gaming. So I think I'd very much count, I guess, acquiring technology, because it becomes proprietary anyway. From what you've seen, obviously you deal with operators all the time. Where do you think that balance is at the moment? Because you've got scale, you've got flexibility, but then, as you say, the challenges of running something versus someone who specializes in doing this very thing every day.
Yeah, well, okay. I understand the reasons that companies may consider development of technology in-house. And I can understand the perceptions they may have about, and usually born from frustration. The decision to consider building a platform in-house is usually born from a negative experience, either in that company or with a management team from previous businesses they've been involved in, where they've had a vendor relationship that, for one reason or another, they felt they weren't in control of their technical destiny in the way that they needed to be, and it was inhibiting their ability to execute successfully their business plans. Okay, so they're considering, well, if I only controlled everything, the world would be different. Well, there are some flaws in that. I mean, if we go back historically, that was a more viable option to take when there was less mature third-party technology from companies like Pragmatic Solutions that was licensable on the market, or when the predominant model in platform licensing was a monolithic vendor relationship, where if you chose their platform, you must also take their games, you must also take ancillary services from them, and it was sort of a binary, all or nothing from one supplier. Those days have gone, and at least from speaking from Pragmatic Solutions, our approach is very different. We provide our platform in a metaphorical way. We call it like a CPU on a motherboard. Okay, so we take the core commodity services that we focus on at the platform level, which is I'm not going to go into all the detail. We understand what a player account management platform entails. But those services at the player account management platform level largely today are commodity services. The management of the player account, the wallet, the status of the player, the transaction history, the integration and orchestration with third-party services. These are not often an area where you're going to really differentiate your operation from your competitors. That's going to happen in the last few miles to the customer on how you extend from the core commodity services and provide your native apps, your front ends, your gamification, your game recommendations, your communications with your customers, everything else. Okay, so what am I saying? I'm saying is if you follow me on that metaphor of the CPU on the motherboard, I think in today's market, facing that decision that's often born out of frustration and a desire to take more control, it doesn't have to be a binary decision of either building in-house or surrendering to licensing everything from a third party and following some rigid structure of getting what you want when they're ready to give it to you through a third-party vendor. What we propose is to think of us like that CPU that is the core building block of your technical estate in your operation, but having, for example, where we have operators that are migrating to us from their own platforms that have reached a technical limitation, I'm saying to the CTOs in those businesses, you're still going to have a lot that you can do, but you're going to be doing a lot more interesting things than building regulatory controls and ensuring that the platform scales at peak demand during a Euros tournament. We will look after that. What you can exercise your internal development resources for is tactile, tangible, customer-facing development that is truly differentiating you from your competitors, leveraging what we do, and empowering you to achieve strategic goals that might mean you're innovating in ways that your competitors aren't. And that's where there is sort of a hybrid option available. And to an extent, if an operator has internal resources that would previously have been maintaining an in-house development platform, we're liberating them to do more, leveraging what we have. To the operator that doesn't wish to maintain technical resources internally, we have a few development models that allow them to access resources on our development team as needed to extend our technology with bespoke development. So I understand the rationale that drives some customers or some operators to think about in-house technology. I understand why some of, let's say, well-established operators from a decade ago or more find themselves on in-house technology because back when they started, there wasn't good options to license. But much in the same way that if you were starting an airline today, you wouldn't start building your own planes. You'd be talking to Airbus or Boeing, and you'd be building your customer experience on top of proven technology to move customers around in the air. Today's smart operations teams are giving strong consideration to what a company like Pragmatic can do to offer them a building block without that being a shackle around their ankle that constrains their ability to innovate and develop internally in ways that are really where the value matters, what's tangible to the customers, with us sitting in the background and de-risking execution, because we know we perform at scale. So when they build upon a building block like ours, they're not going to fall over when they achieve the commercial success of the business that they're planning for. Have I answered your question? I think.
Yes, you have, yeah. A couple of final topics, and always like to look ahead towards the end of a conversation. Moving forward, quite a simple one. You talked about a kind of a confidence and maturing in the technology, and now your job being to really put that message out there. Looking at the second half of 2024, what does that mean for you? What kind of goals have you got for the next sort of few months?
Okay, well, we've only recently published this white paper, which kind of discusses a lot of what we've just been talking about over the last 20 or 30 minutes. And that is part of a proactive strategy we're taking to amplify the communications of what is the value that we proactively have thoughtfully structured our business to bring to the table for operators today, because we think we've carved out a novelty to the way that we're presenting technology, underpinned by great technology in the first place, but the way we provide it to our customers, we think is novel. And so we published a paper that discusses our learnings from sitting on the other side of the desk as customers take us through their due diligence and their thought process as to how they're approaching this. So we've articulated that in a white paper that forms the sort of the tip of the arrow for our communication strategy over the balance of the year. So you'll be seeing a lot more from me, and you'll be hearing a lot more from Pragmatic Solutions in the market as we look to communicate that to a wider audience and earn a seat at the table. I mean, basically, my objective in the second half of the year is to take that message to market, to engage with more operators, and most importantly, to make sure that any management team that's facing the sort of decisions that lead them to evaluating whether they have the right platform or right platform strategy, that we're top of mind and that they feel comfortable with us being experts at what we do to talk to us about it. That's all I'm asking for, is the opportunity to speak with management teams and leadership teams about what we can bring to the table and talk with them logically about their business. Of course, also, in the meantime, we're involved in several RFPs with operators who are at already taken that decision. And we're in commercial discussions with some other operators that have already narrowed down their focus to our technology, and we'll be aiming to close those deals and no doubt announce them as part of our communication strategy and onboard those customers in the second half of the year. And then I think finally, We've got clients who are looking to expand into markets that will expose them to new regulations, and we will be continuing to adapt their businesses on our platform or our platform as we go into new markets or new markets are regulating. So we have new regulation coming in Brazil. We're actively working on certifications and compliance measures to be able to transition our clients into the regulatory model there. We are all aware of regulation coming in the Finnish market as it opens up in 2026. So we're going to be doing the work that we need to do to be a platform that has the widest coverage. So an operator that has an expansion strategy for their business, that means they're going to go into markets that are regulated, that are new to them, that they already have the platform that is compatible to that. It's just a matter of configuration and leverage of what we already have. So we present the passport for them to get into more markets. So the regulatory side, both maintenance of the heavily regulated markets like the UK, Spain, and Germany that we're already in, but have evolving requirements that we need to be compliant with to ensure our customers' compliance, and also being at the forefront of markets that have announced local regulation and that we can ensure our customers can operate there. So we've got a lot cut out for us in the second half of the year. Platform is never done. This is not it's not a product that we have a version that is static. It's always developing, and we're always responding to our customers' needs there. And I think, we just want to make sure that this message is heard and that, we're engaging with people and part of their decision set if they think that they have business goals that are challenged by the technology they're using today.
Mm-hmm. A last one from me, beyond 2024, and we've talked about the value of planning, and I think it's come across quite clearly that your belief in kind of setting out the business objectives. So I imagine you guys have done that for quite a while to come. But if we're to ask about you personally as CEO, what would you like your legacy to be, perhaps, if we're to look back in a few years? and so personally and for the company, long term, what are you looking at? A nice, easy note to end on.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm a little bit humble there, I guess. Then, I think we already have a healthy business, and we've got some really strong customer relationships. And I don't think it's measured in terms of quantity; it's measured in terms of quality of those relationships, and that we are succeeding with the customers we have. We're not looking to measure the success of our business in the number of customer relationships we have. We look to measure the success of our business in the depth of those relationships with the right partners. That, when I said earlier, it's like a monogamous relationship, it's like a marriage, that we are strategically aligned with our customers, and that we then grow together and achieve success commercially because of the way the model is structured. We win when they win, right? So I want to be instrumental in helping our customers achieve business goals. That means that incoming tide raises our ship with them. What that means to me personally is, I want that to be something that we're well recognized for having done in a different way, that was thoughtful and responsive to the dynamics of the market as it has evolved over the last few years and as it will continue to evolve. I want to look, at some point when I'm looking backwards at what my time was in this business, which I have no plans of going anywhere, but let's say there'll come a day, right? I do have a few gray hairs. I want that we have been a part of, in this industry with our technology, establishing a new way of thinking where the core of the platform is not a binary decision of whether you build it or you buy it or you license it, but where we've gone to the maturity of many other technologies outside of the gaming industry, where it's modular and it's component-based, and operators feel comfortable that they can achieve all their control and roadmap, organizational prioritization and business objectives, while still leveraging a product from our company in a way that has matured the industry and is forward thinking. I mean, I don't want to be too highfalutin. I said I was going to start by being humble, but I think we're at a point where we're proposing a new model, and I'd like to be able to look back and say that we were successful in achieving and responding to it, the changes in the market in a way that established us as a market leader. And I'd be really proud if that's something that in a few years is undeniably a fact.
Mm-hmm. Well, Ashley, been a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you very much for your time, and I'm sure we'll be speaking again soon.
Okay, thanks, Tim.
Yeah, thanks. And to our viewers, thanks for watching, as always.